I never thought a fast food job could leave me with nightmares. I'm 41 now, and I've worked construction, security, and even spent a few years driving trucks across the country. I've seen fights, robberies, and accidents that most people never will. But nothing has ever scared me as much as my last week working the closing shift at a KFC in the fall of 2004. I still won't eat there. Back then, I was 19 years old and had just moved to the small town of Blackridge to stay with my uncle after dropping out of college. Money was tight, so I took the first job I could find. The KFC on the edge of town hired me the same day. It looked completely normal during the day. Families came in for lunch, kids laughed, and teenagers hung around the parking lot after school. At night, it became a different place. On my first shift, the manager, Rick, handed me an apron and showed me around the kitchen. Before leaving, he looked me straight in the eyes. "No matter what happens after 2 in the morning, don't answer the drive-thru." I laughed. "I thought we closed at midnight." "We do." "Then why would anyone be in the drive-thru?" He didn't answer. He simply walked away. The first 3 nights were quiet. We cleaned the fryers, mopped the floors, counted the registers, and joked around until it was time to leave. Then came Friday. At exactly 2:13 a.m. Ding! The drive-thru headset lit up. Everyone froze. Nobody spoke. I picked up the headset. "Welcome to KFC. We're closed." Silence. Then, a little girl's voice whispered, "I know." Every hair on my arm stood up. Before I could say another word, the line went dead. Rick snatched the headset from my hands. "I told you not to answer." His face had turned completely white. The next morning I checked the security cameras with permission from another employee. The drive-thru lane was empty. No car. No person. Nothing. Yet the system had clearly detected something. I convinced myself it was just faulty equipment. Until 2 nights later. Around closing time, I was taking trash out behind the building. As I walked toward the dumpster, I heard footsteps behind me. Slow. Crunch. 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 I turned around. Nobody. The parking lot was empty. I kept walking. Crunch. 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 The footsteps started again. Only this time. They stopped the exact moment I stopped. I sprinted back inside. Rick locked the back door immediately. "You heard it, didn't you?" I nodded. Without saying another word, he pulled out an old newspaper clipping from the office drawer. The headline read, "Local family of 3 found dead after highway crash. October 1998. According to the article, their car had slammed into a tree just outside town after stopping at the KFC drive-thru late at night. The only survivor had been their 6-year-old daughter. She disappeared before emergency crews arrived. Despite weeks of searching, she was never found." Rick looked at me. "Ever since that accident, every employee hears a little girl at the drive-thru." I wanted to laugh. Instead, I quit listening. Because deep down, I believed him. My final shift came the next evening. Everything was normal until exactly 2:13 a.m. Ding. This time, the headset turned on by itself. No one touched it. The little girl's voice came through, louder than ever. "Can you bring my food outside?" The restaurant lights suddenly went out. The kitchen fell into complete darkness. Only the glowing exit sign lit the room. Then, someone knocked on the drive-thru window. 3 slow knocks. Knock. 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 Rick whispered, "Don't look." But I did. Standing outside the window was a little girl wearing a soaked yellow raincoat. Her long black hair covered most of her face. She was smiling. Not a normal smile. A smile so wide it didn't look human. She slowly raised one hand and pointed behind me. I turned around. There was nobody there. When I looked back at the window, she was gone. At that exact moment, every light in the building came back on. The headset crackled one last time. "Thank you?" That was it. Rick locked the doors, handed me my final paycheck, and said he understood if I never came back. I didn't. About 6 months later, I heard the restaurant had permanently closed. The building sat abandoned for years before it was eventually demolished. Last summer, while driving through Blackridge, I decided to take a detour. The KFC was gone. In its place was an empty gravel lot. As I drove past, my car radio suddenly filled with loud static. Then, through the speakers, I heard the same little girl's voice I hadn't heard in over 20 years. Softly, almost happily. "You're late." I didn't stop driving, and I never will. I worked at a KFC for almost 2 years, and out of everything that happened there, there's one night I have never been able to explain. I've never told this story publicly because I know how insane it sounds. This happened in November 2011, in a small town called Red Creek. I was 23 and worked the closing shift 5 nights a week. We closed at 11 p.m., and by midnight the restaurant was usually spotless. There were only 3 of us working that night, me, my manager Steve, and another employee named Hannah. At exactly 11:05 p.m., Steve locked the front doors while Hannah and I started cleaning the dining room. Everything was normal, until I noticed something strange. One of the tables near the back window had a tray sitting on it. 3 pieces of chicken, half a drink, a receipt. I frowned. Did someone forget their food? Hannah looked over. There wasn't anyone sitting there. I picked up the receipt. The timestamp read 11:27 p.m. I stared at it. That made no sense. It was only 11:10. The receipt was dated 17 minutes in the future. I showed Steve. He laughed and blamed the cash register. Then the lights flickered. Once. Twice. 3 times. When they came back on, the tray was gone. None of us had touched it. I suddenly felt sick. Steve checked the security cameras in the office. He called us in without saying a word. The footage showed Hannah and me cleaning exactly where we'd been standing. But there was something else. A man. He was sitting alone at the back table. Perfectly still. His head was lowered. Neither Hannah nor I reacted to him. It was as if we couldn't see him in real life. Steve rewound the footage. The man appeared in every camera angle. Yet when we looked out into the dining room, the chair was empty. Steve forced a laugh. Camera glitch. Nobody believed him. Around midnight, Hannah left through the back exit. 10 seconds later, she came running back inside, screaming, "Someone's sitting in my car!" We all rushed outside. The car was empty. Every door was locked. Hannah was crying so hard she could barely breathe. I saw him. Who? The man from the cameras. Steve told her to go home immediately. She never came back to work. Now it was just Steve and me. We finished cleaning in complete silence. At 12:18 a.m., Steve went into the office to count the money. I stayed in the kitchen washing dishes. Then I heard it. A man's voice. "Excuse me." It came from the dining room. I froze. "Excuse me." I slowly walked toward the counter. The dining room lights were still on. And there, sitting calmly at the same back table, was the man. He looked to be in his 50s. Gray jacket. Old baseball cap. His face was strangely pale. He smiled politely. "I've been waiting a long time." I couldn't move. He pointed toward the menu. "I'd like the family bucket." My voice shook. "We're closed." He nodded. "I know." Then his smile slowly disappeared. "So why did you invite me in?" The temperature dropped instantly. The lights went out. Everything became pitch black. I heard chairs scraping across the floor. Then footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Coming straight toward me. I couldn't see anything. I just kept backing away until I hit the kitchen door. Then, the emergency lights switched on. The dining room was empty. Every chair had been flipped upside down onto the tables. Except one. The chair where the man had been sitting. It was pulled out, facing me. Steve came running from the office. "What happened?" Before I could answer, the front door alarm went off. Someone had opened the locked entrance. We both looked toward the doors. They were slowly swinging shut, as if someone had just walked out. Steve checked the security footage one last time before we left. The cameras showed the man walking to the exit. Just before leaving, he stopped, turned toward the camera, smiled, then pointed directly at it. The screen immediately turned to static. The next morning, the hard drive containing that footage was completely corrupted. Nothing could be recovered. Steve quit that same week. The restaurant closed permanently less than a year later. Sometimes, when I drive through Red Creek, I pass the empty building. Every now and then, I swear I can see a man sitting alone by the back window, waiting for the restaurant to open, waiting for someone to invite him in. I used to work as a delivery driver for a KFC in late 2008. I know what you're probably thinking. KFC doesn't deliver. You're right. Most didn't back then. But the one I worked at in the small town of Pine Hollow had just started testing local deliveries. We only covered a few miles around the restaurant, and after 10 p.m., there was usually only one driver left. Most nights were boring. A couple of family meals, some late-night orders from college students, and that was it. But there was one address every employee knew about. No one ever talked about it. If an order came from 117 Willow Creek Road, you simply ignored it. I found that out on my third week. Around 11:45 p.m., the printer suddenly spat out another receipt. 1 family bucket. Large fries. 2 coleslaws. Cash payment. Address 117 Willow Creek Road. I grabbed the receipt. Looks like one more before closing. The kitchen manager immediately snatched it from my hand. "No." "What do you mean no? We don't deliver there." "Why not?" He just stared at me for a few seconds before quietly throwing the receipt into the trash. "It isn't safe." I thought they were messing with the new guy. The next week, the exact same order came in. Same food. Same address. Same time. Again. Nobody took it. I asked another driver what the deal was. He looked genuinely nervous. "You know that road? The one surrounded by woods?" "Yeah. There's no house there anymore." That got my attention. Apparently, there used to be one. A family lived there until their home burned to the ground years earlier. No one survived. At least, that's what everyone believed. A few nights later, I was closing by myself when the phone rang. "Thank you for calling KFC." A little girl interrupted me. "My food is cold." I frowned. "I'm sorry, what?" "My food. You never brought it." I checked the order screen. Nothing. "No orders under your name." Silence. Then, "You always forget us." The line went dead. I immediately called the number back. "This number does not exist." I didn't sleep much that night. A week later, it happened again. 11:45 p.m. The printer came alive. Same order. Same address. Only this time, the manager had already gone home. It was just me and one cook. The cook looked at the receipt and sighed. "I'm not going." "I will." He grabbed my arm. "If you drive there, don't get out of your car." I laughed. "You guys really commit to this prank." 20 minutes later, I was driving down Willow Creek Road. The deeper I went, the darker it became. No streetlights. No houses. No traffic. Just endless trees. Finally, my GPS said, "You have arrived." I looked around. Nothing. Just an empty clearing. There wasn't even a mailbox. Then, my headlights flickered. Standing about 30 feet ahead was a little girl. She wore an old red coat. Her face was hidden by her hair. She wasn't moving. I rolled down my window. "Hello?" Nothing. Then, Very slowly, she lifted one arm and pointed deeper into the woods. I don't know why, but I followed. After about 50 feet, I saw it. The remains of a burned house. Blackened beams, broken bricks, rusted metal. It had clearly been abandoned for years. My phone suddenly buzzed. Delivery complete. I never pressed anything. The app had marked it as delivered automatically. Then I heard children laughing. Not one. Several. Coming from inside the burned house. I ran back to my car. As I started the engine, someone knocked on my passenger window. 3 slow knocks. Knock. 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 I turned. The little girl was standing inches from the glass. This time, I could see her face. Her eyes were completely black. She smiled. Then she whispered, "See you next Tuesday." I slammed the car into reverse and sped away without looking back. The next morning I handed my manager the delivery bag and my uniform. He didn't ask any questions. He simply nodded. "You saw her?" I never answered. A few months later, the restaurant stopped offering deliveries altogether. Last year, curiosity got the better of me. I searched the address online. According to public records, 117 Willow Creek Road has never existed.